Thank you for being here with us!
Hello again. I'm Shanta Thake, Lincoln Center's Chief Artistic Officer. All summer long, we've been celebrating all things New York City with the Festival of New York, a summer-long celebration of everything that makes this the greatest city in the world. Visit festivalofny.com to learn more about our 350-plus partners and the countless events that have come together to make this summer so spectacular. Last time, Lincoln Center's Chief Advancement and Innovation Officer, Clive Chang, sat down with a few of our partners to talk about the first of the three main pillars of the festival, comeback. Today, we are looking at pillar number 2, community. This summer, Festival of New York has provided an opportunity to bring back New York in so many ways, but the movement would not have been possible without the city's backbone, its communities. Now, over 350 partners, organizations, businesses, and institutions from all over New York City have come together to create a unified community across all 5 boroughs. The pandemic greatly impacted communities at all levels, but through the Festival of New York, we are rebuilding and coming back stronger than ever. Today, I am joined by Veronica Loomis, co-founder and executive director of It's a She Thing, Alejandro Torres, executive director of the Loisaida Center, and Aisha Diori, founder and executive director of Africa Everything. Each will discuss how they were able to rebuild their communities through the Festival of New York. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you.
It's incredible to see all of you here together, not on Zoom screens. It's so lovely, and you have all been very busy. You were busy before the pandemic, during the pandemic, and of course now, when we've had the pleasure of working all together through Festival of New York. I would love to just start with hearing a little bit about your organizations and the backbone of those organizations. Who are the communities that you serve? So I'm going to start with you, Aisha.
Okay, so the communities that we serve is very niche. We do at the West African community. That's who we, but it's Africa Everything, so that's all of Africa, to kind of empower the African diaspora to step out of their comfort boxes, to do things and work together. We help rebuild schools in West Africa. We've done Senegal, Ghana, Nigeria, and Ghana, Nigeria, and Liberia. So those are places we've done. So it's a way for us to empower, being an immigrant. Like I came as an immigrant to America, from Nigeria and Ghana. So it's to come here and to be able to tap into like community and people, because those are people that grew. When you have an immigrant mother, she's going to work all day, all night. So your community has to be there to take care of you, have safe spaces for you as a young girl in New York City. So that's why I'm like, I don't want any other kids that are going through hardships in West Africa to go through this. We, I think a basic right is education. Yeah. Basic right is making sure that people have a quality of life. So just making sure those things are kind of our core premises as Africa Everything, and bringing the diaspora together from all sectors of diaspora to then have, conversations and engage in things to help empowering themselves too, like creatives like painters, dancers, singers. How do you come together and have like-minded people meet in the middle and, work together? So that's a little synopsis.
Well, thank you. That's beautiful. Veronica.
Well, we are a Brooklyn-based community, a Brooklyn-based organization that serves women and their families who've encountered traumatic experiences, such as domestic violence, sexual assault, bullying, and we provide services that aren't easily accessible to that community. We provide resources such as financial assistance, scholarships for high school graduates. We have an empowerment camp for girls, which we feel the ages 8 to 15 are very crucial in determining their future. And we also have community engagement, which we partner with the smaller organizations in the community to serve the community.
That's beautiful. Thank you. And Alejandro?
Sure. We're at Loisaida Center. We're a Puerto Rican founded and led organization, a very, very small but mighty organization, I'd like to say. Very similar to Aisha. Our focus is on the Latino and Puerto Rican community, right? And we work with them with providing arts and culture programming at the intersection of technology and media. The idea, again, is to empower this very often overlooked community to thrive, right? And to also save place for these communities that are often very, very much pushed to the fringes. So our mission is to pretty much save this space, and we do this through our regular programs, but also through the celebration of the Loisada Festival, which is what brings me to Festival of New York and brings Loisada to Festival of New York.
Yeah, tell us more about what the Loisada
So
Festival
it's
is.
very interesting because the Loisaida organization has historically celebrated our programs in our community through the Loisaida Festival. This year we celebrated the 35th annual Loisada Festival, and it was a complete success. I think a lot of our community was waiting for us to be back on the street, very similar to the mission of Festival of New York, and the reason why we're so excited to be here together instead of through the digital environment. The community was ready to go back and ready to see each other, to have fun, to look and see face to face with neighbors that they hadn't seen for a long time. It was a very important event to bring this multi-generational community back together. There was a huge isolation that I felt our community had, that had to do with generational divides, right?
Yeah.
And I think something like the Loisada Festival and the work that other organizations that are part of the Festival of New York create is that environment for these generations to come back together and celebrate culture, do it together, and do it happily and looking towards a better future.
That's so beautiful. We talk a lot about how live performance, live programming, the way that you do it and why we do it sometimes is to desegregate, and not just
Right.
desegregate across neighborhoods. Sometimes you really want to keep your neighborhood, but also in the way that you're talking about, across generation. And how do we break down these barriers? And sometimes you have to really come to a show together, see
Right.
one another, and understand that this is all part of your community. And it's easy to forget that, especially, I think, coming out of this time, really being so isolated and just getting more and more ingrained. So it's so beautiful to see that it was such a success. And can you talk a little bit about what your participation in Festival of New York meant for the Loisaida Festival this year?
Sure. I think one of the biggest impact that the Loisada Festival as part of Festival of New York had was to bring the Loisada Festival to a citywide audience and also expose this celebration to maybe other organizations that didn't know about it, and truly make it a city-wide event, right? The festival, the Loisada Festival is unique in the way that it's produced by a nonprofit, Loisaida Inc., right? And so it's been long overdue, right, that this celebration has really like a city-wide impact. And I think Festival of New York provided a little bit more visibility for the Loisaida Festival and for our larger NYC community.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I think one of the things for me Festival of New York really did was help illuminate all of these different communities and remind us why New York is such a vibrant, incredible place to be, that there is not only festivals but services really targeted at all of these great communities and making sure we don't lose these communities as we, move forward in time, and making sure there's a place to really continue to grow and develop these very important communities to us. So thank you for all of your work.
Of course, thank you.
I'd love to hear from both of you as well. Veronica, do you want to tell us a little bit? I think your camp is what happened as part of Festival of New York. Can you talk a little bit more about that, and maybe also about the founding of It's a She Thing and who you founded
Sure.
with?
So I co-founded the organization with my daughter, Michaela, and it was founded by trauma that we faced. I just felt like we needed resources when we were going through certain situations that weren't readily available. And I just vowed whenever we got out of that situation, we would help others in the community because a lot these are families who are at a disadvantage or underserved, and they're talented, they want more, but they don't either have the resources available or they don't know about resources that
visible,
are available.
yeah.
Yes. So our empowerment camp for girls, we had to pivot the beginning of COVID and do everything online, virtual. And it was a blessing in a way because we were able to capture audiences from California, Japan, Jamaica, Guyana, globally. And it was successful, but it felt so good to be in person, to have the interaction a lot. Like you said, the kids were homeschooled for 2 years, and they were going through trauma and emotional bouts. So we were able to tap into their talents. They were able to meet new girls. We had girls that came to New York for the camp from North Carolina, Delaware. And it was just a great, great experience.
That's amazing. And what was your intersection with Festival of New York? How did that help or enhance the experience for you personally or for the camp itself?
Sure. So I actually learned about Festival of New York because I work at Lincoln Center as a senior manager. So it was just great to even learn about Festival of New York, the launch. So I definitely wanted to be involved. And our camp, we were intentional throughout the 2 weeks of the camp. So we expose ourselves in the community, and in that manner, people learned about the services that we provided, the programming, and the Festival of New York exposed all of what we offered in so many ways. During our performance, our end of camp performance, a lot of people came from the community, and it was just like a big celebration. So I just thank Festival of New York for even, we were so limited on the audience that we were able to capture, but I think this is just a new beginning. It created a new beginning for us.
Beautiful. And Aisha, can you tell us, you did a few events, I think, during Festival of New York, and one very recently at Barclays, right? No big deal. Tell us about all of
No big pull. So I guess the first one then, right? So Africa Everything, since its onset in 2017, I decided, because I'm an events planner, that's event coordinator, director, that's been my industry for 20 years. So I wanted to do a party for a cause, because when you go to some of these gala events, they're like $2,000 plates, $10,000 tables. So I said, well, I don't think my community, which are the artists, creatives, people that have their own businesses, are going to be able to buy a $10,000 table. So I'm going to start with a little lift. Just pay $20, but be dressed in your finest African attire. Come and experience African culture. Come and eat African food. Come and see the small businesses that are available that are showcasing their wares. So Africa Everything was birthed, and also presenting artists, up-and-coming artists, established artists in the Afrobeats genre. So that really was something. And then it's so crazy how from 2017, we raised $500 in 2017, but we were able to do something in Nigeria. But till now, where we're in the thousands now raising money, and I think that having the partnership of Festival of New York was really great because, like she said, we came from Zoom. We went on Zoom for the Africa Everything because we usually were doing it at a venue, but then the past 2 years because of COVID, you have to. So we literally had to do it on Zoom. Like it was like a small microcosm of what was this year, right? And this year was absolutely successful. Slate, because of Festival of New York, got on board. Oh yeah, we want to be a part of that.
Great.
So we had a great venue. They gave us a great deal that we probably would not have been able to get at 21st Street in Manhattan. So just being able to tap into the different resources, the collateral, and then seeing faces, like seeing people that were diverse. I'm a big component of that. Just being on the Zoom, even though I wasn't on camera a lot. But for everybody, it was just such a microcosm of what is New York and a melting pot. And with COVID, we went into ourselves, our shells and everything. And you just kind of saw, even from the Zoom, that there was a blossom happening with everybody, all the organizations, and being able to learn so much. There's so many organizations for so many things that we don't even know.
Yeah.
So now we have a resource guide of places to send people if they need this resource, that resource, this resource. So and also have people that we can point at, they call it the organization. Hey, Alejandro, I need I need this to be done. I want to do Afro-Latino, like, let me do something. Like, so things like that were some of the things that really built community for me. And then, of course, I have always had a dream to have Afrobeats event that empowers up and coming Afrobeats artists and established ones. But of course, that takes budget because I want to make sure that everybody's paid for.
Yeah.
So I spoke to the Lincoln Center. I tried to pitch it to Lincoln Center first. They didn't want it. Lincoln Center said, "No, we don't want any parts of this."
I'm sure that's not true.
No. But Lincoln Center literally paired us with the Social Justice Fund, who does amazing work in empowering Black businesses in Brooklyn. And they're also part of the Barclays Center, that the whole foundation by the owners of Barclays. And literally, it was like a back and forth and back and forth. I'm like, is this really happening? My small organization, like you said, it's like a baby organization, to be partnered with such a juggernaut, and to have the Barclays people, so on August 13th, we had an Afrobeats takeover on Barclays Center. We had the run of the land. We were in there. We were able to park where the basketball players parked. We were able to run around like we were Jay-Z or something. So literally, and it was such a proud moment for all of the people that participated in Afrobeats takeover Barclays Center, because this is something you put on your resume. I performed at the Barclays Center. I danced at the Barclays Center. I did this, and to have even my whole board, the whole, it was unbelievable. Aisha, you sure the Barclays? Like, it was unbelievable. The Barclays, the Barclays Center. My sister, you don't blow. So Festival of New York paired us together, and it was like nobody was better than each other. Like, these are people that do have budgets that are untold compared to our little organization where we're piecing things together. So I feel like that built community, and the look on the face of Social Justice Fund and people that just came to the event, had a good time, free time. You had dancing, everything. We empowered Brooklyn-based businesses by having a vendor fair, and made sure that we showcased African culture in all of its glory. So that to me was something, and just the community that we built. Like from the very beginning, with Kyle sending all of his toolkits.
Yeah.
From the toolkits to this.
Yeah.
It's like magic.
That's amazing. No, I love that. And I love, you talking about 2017 to now, with, of course, that 2+ years of COVID still, infiltrating our lives and our communities and our organizations. But really hearing from you how a grassroots organization builds, and you can't rush it, right? It is about this, or you're 35 years in, working at Loisaida. What an incredible community that is, and strong community in the Lower East Side. I wonder if you guys can talk a little bit about what is that initiating impulse of, you don't just wake up one day and say, I want to build a community, but what's your first, what are the first steps of thinking, like, how do I strengthen? What was your first question to yourself that led you to create these incredible movements?
Let's go first.
I think because New York is so diverse, it just comes naturally. And with us, most of the girls come from different cultures. And what we did was we had a cultural day where they shared their culture, and their families were able to come in. So they brought in some of maybe food that they ate. They shared some of their traditions. So it just came naturally, without even trying to figure out how we would, build a diverse community.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. I do think sometimes when people are thinking about whether to move to New York, I always say, you can find your people here. You will find your people here. You may think New York is this huge, city that you just feels like totally indecipherable from the outside. But once you get here, there's a way to find your people and then build from there. So I think that's such an interesting.
I think in a way that's what really was worrying at the onset of COVID-19 is because New York didn't seem like New York.
Yeah.
I think and I remember this very clearly because I took on the leadership at Loisaida right at the beginning of 2020, right before I had my Loisaida festival planned for the street. And then, I thought that I was in a good place. And then reality struck and uncertainty struck. And then you realize I'm not going to see, my elders come in every month to check on, to make sure that they're okay. How are they connecting to their other families, other members that, their grandsons, granddaughters that are not going to school, that don't have really a plan, right? How to, remote study and will work. All these uncertainties kind of were brought on at the onset of COVID, and I personally felt that it was my responsibility, right? Because people were already saying, the festival, it will not happen. And, this is, again, it's such an anchor of our community that I was like, I need to make sure something happens. And so in a way, we were already planning at Loisaida to build a more robust media and technology center. So we were already in the steps of making the festival a hybrid event anyway. So what I think the COVID-19 shutdown provided to us was the opportunity to really strengthen our internal infrastructure. And we were actually one of the first organizations to even try to launch any type of virtual festival. And we did it in a way, we had to do it very quickly because our festival takes place in Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah.
Why? Because this is when most families that are working class families have a long weekend and don't have any other place to go.
Yeah.
So, this festival was created by the community for the community so that to make sure that during this long weekend, they had some time to be together with neighbors and other family members. People would come in from tri-state area, from Philadelphia, from Connecticut to the celebration. So it was just for me like imperative to make sure that kept going in any way, shape, and form.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that we were able to at least keep the Loisaida Festival in people's mind through this virtual celebration. And so when 2022 came along, we were like, even with the Omicron, scare at the beginning of the year, we were like, hell no, we're going to do this. We've waited enough, and I think the community needs it. And so now is the right time. And I think Festival of New York realized that too. And a lot of people are already, okay, we need to go back on the streets and we need to get our people together once more. And I think that's really what pushed me to kind of like make sure that my community was still, that we were present for our community.
Yeah.
And I guess to answer your question, like how Festival of New York came as a dream. You didn't even know that this was going to happen. It's the same way kind of my organization is like, I'm envisioning this happening, this African organization, and have Africans and African diaspora buy in, and it's not easy, but your people do find you. So like she said, your people that are interested in what you're doing, people are gonna come and go and vet out, but it's harder when you're dealing with, like sometimes, the African community is like the last to be thought of, and it's just what it is. Like we're, even coming here as an immigrant, I went through the stigmas and all that stuff. So how do we get together and make each other realize that we're the same people? Like when you strip down our colors, right? We're the same person. We're the same people. We have the same organs. Nobody has any extra organs inside. So really just having to build on community. And some like one of my board members is not even African. She's like, but she joined because she sees something in it, right?
Yeah.
And she wants to be a part of something that is growing, that is helping empower, and helping to create future leaders, because we're not going to be here we're not going to be here forever.
Well,
so
you are. We all
do they have
are,
a new secret potion that you're not telling me about? So, just being able to realize that we can create, like seeing that some of the kids that we've helped force their scholarships and are now in college.
Yeah.
And it's only from 2017, so we did like some senior high school students. So just being able to see that, sometimes, of course, it's hard running a small organization. You're crying, you're like, where's money coming from? Where's this coming from? Where's that coming from? But when you get into the community and people just being there and sharing with you, and also you guys made it so easy too. Like, you know, creating the toolkit, creating all the things that were needed. And if you needed something, like, let's hear a wish list. We may not be able to give it to you, but let's see if we can make it happen by pairing you up with people and, you know, building this community. And one of my mottos, because I used to do HIV prevention work, is community mobilization is key. Like, if you do not have the community buy-in, it's not happening.
Yeah.
It's not.
Can you share with us your website information and how people can find out more? I'll start with you, Alejandro.
Sure. You can go to Loisaida, Loisaida.org, loisada.org, to learn more about our programs, events, and workshops, and also services we provide. Thank you.
Veronica?
You can visit www.shethinknyc.com, and our Instagram is @shethinknyc.
My organization is Africa Everything. You can go to africaeverything.com to get more information about the organization, become a part of the work, travel with us if you want to. Just go on there, our Instagram, Facebook. We are very responsive, so check us out.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you for the work that you're doing for your communities,
for what you've
for
done.
New York City, and for all of us. It makes this city a place that we all want to live, and we want to continue to revitalize what's happening here and make sure that all of your organizations are thriving into the next.
Can we thank you guys?
And
Can
yes,
we
no,
thank
thank
Lincoln
I would love to
Center
thank.
for bringing us together? Can we thank Lincoln Center and Festival of New York for bringing us together, all of the team? And I know you guys were stretched. It's 350 organizations and not just one organization. So being able to pivot and bounce and help us and put us together and build community, create resources that we wouldn't have had. We appreciate you. So I want to say thank you to Lincoln Center for doing this. How about that?
Festival of New York is an amazing new movement for the city, we'll see how it grows and builds. Thank you for joining us yet again for another discussion on how the Festival of New York is positively impacting our city and bringing us all together as one community. We thank our guests today and all of our 350 plus coalition members for their dedication and love for New York City. For more information, please visit festivalofny.com and @festivalofny on your social networks. Until next time, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you soon.